Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Obsessive Compulsive Gaming. I am the Obsessive Compulsive Gamer.
And I am Bertrum.
And I am Professor Charles Waldman.
And this is our review for The Bouncer. So dear viewer, The Bouncer originally released in Japan in 2000. A year I remember fondly as the year I first played such fantastic games as Final Fantasy IX, Resident Evil Code Veronica, and Vagrant Story. You remember Vagrant Story?
Not really.
What a weird little RPG that was. Looks like complete and utter arse now, though.
Yes, quite.
But we're not here to talk about that. No, we are here to discuss The Bouncer. And just like that beautiful bearded bastard Barry Burton, you're probably wondering,
what is this? What is it? What is this?
The Bouncer is a beat-em-up from those talented bastards at Squaresoft, a company you will now know as Square Enix. They were responsible for amazing video games like the aforementioned Vagrant Story.
What a weird RPG.
Oh yes, quite.
Final Fantasy IX, and of course, The Bouncer. Funny story. This was a launch title for the PS2.
What's so funny about that?
Honestly, Ruben, you are losing your touch.
That's not what your wife said last night.
What was that?
Nothing, Professor. So, what's the story of The Bouncer? I'm so glad you asked, dear viewer. This game tells the story of 3 fictional bouncers in a city known as Edge City.
Isn't that the city The Mask takes place in?
Oh, splendid. Does this game have The Mask in it? I do so love that crazy bastard.
I don't think it's the same Edge City.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yes, quite. Anyway, their friend gets kidnapped by the nefarious Mikado group.
Mikado? Like the Mikado? The opera?
No, not that Mikado. Are you two going to interrupt me every 2 seconds, or can I get on with this bloody review? Anyway, friend gets kidnapped, so it's up to our 3 fictional bouncers to rescue her and kick the villain in the face, or some such nonsense.
Question.
Oh, God help me. Yes?
Why are you emphasizing that they're fictional bouncers? This is a video game. Of course they're fictional.
Well, have you ever played Moonwalker? You haven't? Well, that game stars Michael Jackson. He's not fictional.
Wasn't.
What?
He wasn't fictional. Past tense, due to him being very deceased.
Oh, yes, of course. Anyway, we play as fictional, made-up, imagined, non-existent, in real life bouncers. Got it?
Roger.
Where? Where's Roger? I don't see him.
So, let's review this video game the only way I know how. Badly. And let's start with what I liked about The Bouncer. Oh, speaking of things I like it when you subscribe to the channel, dear viewer. So please do that post-haste. Now, the first thing I simply must commend The Bouncer for is its visuals. Yes, this game is older than most of my grey pubic hairs, but it still looks good. Especially the FMV cutscenes, which I've always had a fondness for. But this game was released by the same company who made the splendid Final Fantasy VIII, which had its own share of amazing FMV cutscenes, so that's not surprising. And it's a good thing the cutscenes are so good looking, because you're going to be watching quite a lot of the bloody things. This game also tells a fairly fairly familiar story. Rescue the damsel in distress from evil dickhead who wants to yada 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 to the world. But the bouncer finds a way to switch it up a little bit. Without spoiling anything, let's just say that the damsel in this game isn't much of a damsel.
Spoilers?
Shut up, Bertram. I'm not giving anything away, even though this game is older than most of the little bastards who play Fortnite or Call of Duty Online.
Oh, I hate those little shits.
Ditto, Bertram. Ditto.
I don't know what that means.
Never mind.
Ditto. Catchphrase of Patrick Swayze in Ghost. Means...
Yes, thank you, Professor. Patrick Swayze is amazing.
Was.
What?
He was amazing. Past tense due to him being very, very deceased.
Oh, yes, of course. What else can I say about the bouncer? Last thoughts on the story? This game lets you select from the 3 main characters at specific points. Before a combat encounter, usually. And depending on what character you select, you might get treated to different dialogue, altered cutscenes, not to mention it's the perfect excuse to play through the story again, and playing as the characters you didn't pick first time around. And the ending cutscenes are different depending on who you play as during the final boss, I think. There's also a section later in the game where our 3 characters get separated, so obviously that section plays out differently depending on who you select.
Question.
Oh, God help me. Yes?
Can you play this game in 2-player?
I didn't expect that. That's actually a sensible question. Well done, Bertram. You could play the Versus mode and Battle Royale mode in multiplayer, but you would need one of those multi-tap contraptions for your PS2.
But we don't have one of those.
I know, Bertram. I'd rather stick my head in a helicopter propeller than play any kind of Versus/Battle Royale mode.
Oh, spoil sport.
That I am. So, what else? Oh yes, the character designs by the oh-so-talented Tetsuya Nomura are, as always, amazing. And those characters wouldn't look out of place in Final Fantasy VIII. Not surprising given Nomura's involvement with that particular gaming series. The music here is also top-notch, not quite Streets of Rage top-notch, you know, that other beat-em-up, but still good. And the final nice thing I'll say about the bouncer is, if you like cheesy, over-the-top dialogue, then this game has it in spades, hearts, aces, kings, and queens. So, let's talk about what I didn't like so much about this little beat-em-up video game. Now, this might be a beat-em-up, but sadly, the combat isn't the best. I must have played this game in excess of 20 times since the year 2000, and I still treat the combat the same way I treat a sex robot. Just hit things randomly and hope that something magical happens. This has the usual high punch, high kick, low punch, low kick. Sadly no rip his pants off button, but never mind. You can unlock extra combos and all that bollocks, but the combat in this game just isn't very good. What's also not very good is the ratio of cutscenes to gameplay. There's a distinct lack of gameplay outside of fighting enemies. Though, there are 1 or 2 sections where you get to walk about. one of which is a very annoying escort mission, so take my advice, dear viewers. Always tell your wife that she looks amazing in that dress, which is clearly too small for her. Not only that, but during the escort mission, just run past everything. You'll thank me later. I accept cash, card, PayPal, and Amazon gift cards. Most of this game's runtime is taken up by cutscenes, and they are very nice cutscenes, but if you're looking for something that's a little more running through stages a la Streets of Rage, then this isn't the beat 'em up for you. Speaking of the runtime, the game will take you about 2 hours to finish. That's right, 2 hours. The professor can barely string a sentence together in 2 hours.
I resent that. Robin, I resent what you have just said. You absolute bastard.
I rest my case. Luckily, like I said, you can play the game again with the other characters, so you'll be looking at about 8-10 hours if you do everything. You can unlock another character, I think, but I've never figured out how the hell you do that, and I can't be bothered looking up a guide.
Oh, but you do have time to look up questionable pornography featuring women dressed up as...
Shut up, Bertrum. So, what do I think? Well, it's short, annoying sometimes, but we're not here to talk about Bertrum.
Oi!
We are here to talk about the bouncer, and like Bertrum, it is too short and too annoying at times. But for me, the over-the-top story, action movie style cutscenes, and the visuals more than make up for its flaws. This, in my humble opinion, is an underappreciated gem of the PS2 era, and I hope that we get a remaster/remake/adult movie parody at some point in the future.
What?
Therefore, I declare that the bouncer is very good. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, my review for the bouncer. If you enjoyed this little review of mine, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't enjoyed it, well then feel free to give me a thumbs down. But please remember the single most important thing I always tell you, dear viewer, and that is to always stay obsessed with gaming. Say goodbye, Bertrum.
Goodbye, Bertram.
Say goodbye, Professor.
Yes. Goodbye, Professor.
Are you still here? Oh, you must have really enjoyed this video then. In that case, you had better subscribe to the channel and check out our other content. Otherwise, you're a booby pants, and no one wants to be a booby pants.